Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Strength and Diversity Entrepreneurs IST Talk program brought to you by the College of IST Offices of Career Solutions and Corporate Engagement, Inclusion and Diversity Engagement, and Development and Alumni Relations. My name is Caitlin Bridge. I'm a senior in the College of IST with a major in Information Sciences and Technology, and I'll be one of your moderators today. We're pleased to have you join us for this session celebrating the diversity in our alumni, as well as those following an entrepreneurship path. We'll begin our program in a few moments.
Hello, my name is Erica Mee. I am a co-moderator for today's session. I'm currently a junior majoring in Information Sciences and Technology. Welcome to our program celebrating entrepreneurism during Penn State Startup Week. I'd like to mention that we are recording today's session. So now let's meet the panelists. First, we have Megan Costello, a 2008 graduate of IST, currently serving as assistant teaching professor for IST. Next, we have Nikita Page, 2017 graduate of IST and IT audit manager at Microsoft. Also on our panel today is Joelle Secchi, 2020 IST grad and systems administrator for Valida Tech. Finally, we have Sarah Weston, 2005 IST graduate, founder and executive director of 9-1 Wonder Woman. Welcome everyone, and thank you for being a part of such an amazing panel. Kim is adding LinkedIn profiles to the chat now for anyone interested in connecting with our panelists. If you could each share a little bit more about yourself, including what business or startup you created, and then we'll start with some questions. Megan, we'll start with you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Costello, and I'm actually an assistant teaching professor here at the College of IST. One thing that's kind of cool is that I'm one of the lead representatives for the Entrepreneurship Minor at our college. So I run a lot of different things as far as different programming and things within the school, teaching classes and things like that in entrepreneurship. A little bit about me, I graduated from the College of IST in 2008. Can't believe it's been so long since then. But after I graduated, I actually used my degree to go off to law school, where I studied a lot of things in technology and policy, and I'm absolutely in love with the study of intellectual property law. Went off and I practiced for some time, started up my own solo practice, and now I actually get to go back, back in IST on the other side of the podium, and I get to teach a lot of great classes, not just in entrepreneurship, but in law and technology and cybersecurity and everything in between. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Nikita, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Absolutely. And thank you for that warm introduction. My name is Nikita Page. I am a class of 2017 graduate, so not too far off, with a major in information sciences and technology, design and development, integration application track with a minor in digital entrepreneurship and innovation. I work for Microsoft doing risk consulting, mostly stayed in the consulting industries over the last few years when I started my professional career. But I also do have my own music entrepreneurial LLC as well that I do on the side. I've worked across a lot of different industries, a lot of different geographic regions. I'm originally from the Ukraine, so I'm a first generation American that's got definitely a little bit more of that global mindset and when I come to both my work and my entrepreneurial life. And I'm very excited to share my experiences and then chat with fellow panelists today.
Joelle, would you like to go next?
Yeah. Hey everyone, my name is Joelle. I'm a class of 2020 graduate from the College of IST. I did the design and development option. Right now I'm working as a system administrator at Valida Tech, which is an IT government contracting company. So they provide IT services for the different branches of the government. So I mainly just work with my team to manage databases and update servers for their different clients. So also when I was at Penn State, I was pretty heavily involved with the community. I was involved with Mlk Commemoration Program, Mlk Commemoration Committee, Blueprint, and I started my business in early 2020 called Vibrant. And our goal was to help underrepresented students get better access to the opportunities and resources at their college campuses. So yeah, thanks for having me today.
Awesome. Sarah, would you like to round us out with an introduction?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Sarah Weston, and I'm a 2005 grad of IST. My major was in application integration as well. And I was the third class of IST grads. And I really can't believe it's been this long, Megan. So I'm with you there. When I graduated, I went straight into consulting as well. I worked for a company that did public safety technology consulting. So basically, for the past 17 years, I've been working with states and localities to upgrade their 911 systems to an IP network. And there's a ton that goes along with that. But that experience really brought me to start a nonprofit called 911 Wonder Women. And that gives 911 call takers and dispatchers resources and trainings and tools that they wouldn't normally have access to. And then I also launched my own public safety consulting LLC. And I'm excited to talk with you all today.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here and for your willingness to share your stories. So now, just for a little bit of housekeeping notes, if you have any questions, please share them in the Q&A. We'll be checking that regularly throughout the program, and we'll do our best to answer all the questions. But first, we're going to kick it off with a prepared question. Can you tell us about your IST education and how that prepared you for becoming an entrepreneur? Nikita, let's start with you if you have anything to add.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Caitlin. First and foremost, I'm very lucky to have also minored in entrepreneurship. I think IST does a great job foundationally to prep a lot of students to be able to both speak to tech and business and be able to present in front of people rather, than necessarily being behind the scenes. And then the entrepreneurship education on top of that really prepared me to be able to think a little bit faster, a little bit more critically. I think one of the best things that entrepreneurship really does well, especially at Penn State, is understanding how to sell something. And oftentimes we don't realize whether it's starting your own business or working in the professional worlds for a big company, you're always selling, regardless of if you're a tech professional or a business professional, whether that means that you're trying to sell to your stakeholders a report or your findings in a security assessment, or if you're trying to sell basically your services to a different company or somebody within the company that you represent as well. So entrepreneurship does give you this opportunity to really understand what you're trying to sell, who you're trying to sell to, and ultimately be able to be as empathetic as possible. Really put yourself in the shoes of the person that you're trying to communicate with in order to be able to understand their pain points and then what they need from you as a service or a product. So, being able to think like that, especially when working in the world of business and tech, is extremely useful and important. I think IST did a great job, and then the digital entrepreneurship really kind of solidified that education for me as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Do any of the other panelists have anything to add to how your IST education prepared you?
Yeah, I do too. I didn't take the entrepreneurship minor when I was there, but speaking on like the technical side of entrepreneurship, or when you're trying to build a product that has like a tech focus, me attending my IST classes was my first exposure to like full stack development and learning how to properly break down and learn about the architecture of software and making sure that you're also working in conjunction with a team to be able to output what you need. Working with the team really enabled me to output what I needed for my potential customers. and making sure that it had all the testing it needed, the feature set it needed, that would prioritize what the customer needed to solve the problem that they had. So like me being in the College of IST exposed me a lot into not just thinking about how my ID could be successful or help students, but also how I can technically make that into a reality. And also it taught me how to also collect data from my potential customers while I was at school. I had many opportunities to talk to students about the issue I was trying to solve in my business. And the lessons I learned in my classes really helped me break down how I can use that data that I collected into making a better product all around. So it was a great help.
And I can add on to that. So I've been out for, as I said, 17 years. So my reflection back on what IST taught me is a little of a different perspective, because it's been a lot. But for me, I didn't even have an email address when I started school. And I'm not saying that to say that I am that old, because there was email. I'm saying that to say I was not well versed in IT whatsoever. And I found IST through a friend, because my freshman year, I didn't really know. I didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I found it appealing because it teaches you skills that you need no matter what you go into. So I was getting that IT information that I knew I needed if I wanted to have a job, and that I had never had any interest in before. But now I could learn that. I could learn business, project management. I have been a project manager now for about 10 years, and I really fell in love with wanting to be a project manager who understood everything that was going on. Because you'll have that, especially in IT, and I don't know if you guys have run into this yet, but you have, the people who are doing the work and the project managers, and they don't always know what's going on. They don't understand it. It's not in their wheelhouse, the bit of a job. So I always wanted to be a project manager who understood what was going on with my people, so that I could speak about it and I could effectively manage. So IST was huge with the group work and, practicing leadership skills and presenting. When I was kind of dumped into consulting is how I think of it. No one taught me how to talk to a client. I was, no one was like, okay, Sarah, this is the information you need to present, not this is how you stand and this is how you make eye contact. None of that. And some of the engineers I worked with, I was just a step above because of that alone. So the thing it taught me the most, I think, was that I can do things that that I don't know a lot about. I can do hard, challenging things and I can figure it out. And, I learned very quickly who to ask questions of. And I think a huge thing in entrepreneurship is knowing who to go to for information. I go to this person when I need this kind of advice, this person with this kind of advice, because none of us know it all, especially entrepreneurs. We're expected to do everything, right? Like top to bottom, run a company. And we all need that support in people. So I in reflection, I got all of that through my IST background, and we didn't even have an entrepreneurship major when I was there. So, that's or minor. So that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, and just to jump in a little bit, I like how everybody's talking about how IST kind of bridges this gap between technology and, different aspects of, how you kind of manage different things out in the business. And even as a lawyer by trade, I can't tell you how many times it has been so helpful to be able to know the tech and to be able to communicate on both sides of the issue, to be able to talk about different things and to make it approachable for everybody and fun, right? Because I think sometimes when you think about a lawyer, it's like, oh, that stuffy lawyer, they're with their mahogany desks and all, like all the different things that are going on here. But really, seriously, though, I mean, the law is so interesting. And when you get into these different facets of technology and policy and things like that, and the significant amount of change that you can make in that space. It's just amazing to be able to have those conversations with people across that gap. And even more thinking about entrepreneurship as well, having those communication skills can help so much. And they've served me well, over this time. I'm definitely with Sarah on this though. When I was in IST, we never had the Entrepreneurship Minor. We never had as many entrepreneurship tools as they all do today, which is amazing. I wish I had some of those resources. And I can only hope that people are taking advantage of those, because they really, really, really do help get out in the space and to focus on things. So that's just basically what I wanted to add.
Such a good point. I have a book on my shelf back here that says Nonprofit for Dummies. It's literally the tool that I use. So having something to start from is so helpful.
Sometimes it could be intimidating. So it's nice to be able to bridge the gap.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for sharing your stories on that question. So our next question is, was there a time when you felt like you weren't being heard or seen, and how did you overcome that? So we'll start with Sarah this time.
This is such a good question. I didn't feel like I was heard or seen for probably the first 10 years of my career. I was always kind of this bubbly personality. I'm very 5'0" and I'd roll into the room and I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? And everyone would be in their cubicles like, what is happening over there? So, it was just part of who I was. And, walking into a professional environment, I didn't necessarily have, you have a learning curve there, and there weren't a lot of women mentors. There weren't a lot of women in my office who could kind of, help me out with some of those things. So I was kind of going in blind, and I just am a people pleaser. I lacked confidence. I didn't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable by sharing an opinion that was different, especially being early in your career and thinking, well, they know what they're doing. Not always. But yeah, I had to really embrace the discomfort of somebody not liking what I had to say, even if I wanted to share it. And, honestly, it wasn't until I had my first baby that I really spoke up for myself, because I was speaking up for this little person, and something kind of clicked in me, like, oh, I can't do all that travel because I have an infant and I'm going to say no. And I didn't die. Right. And I was just like, oh, well, if I can, it's kind of like if someone is saying hurtful things to you and you're like, whatever, I can take it. But if they're saying hurtful things to your sister and you're like, let's go. So that kind of clicked, and I found myself some women mentors who could help me through some of that stuff that a lot of my guide colleagues just didn't understand, because they never really had to prove themselves in that way. So that was massive, finding a mentor. I really learned that if I wanted to learn from someone, I had to reach out to them. And it's really easy. It's a lot easier now with LinkedIn. I can just go to anyone and say, hey, I really admire what you're doing. Would you mind having a conversation with me? And 9 times out of 10, they're super willing, especially in underrepresented communities. So yeah, I really had to work on that. I'm still working on it, honestly. And it's kind of like a muscle that you build if you flex it, if you step up and use your voice, you'll find it more, and you'll feel more empowered.
Yes, Sarah, just to jump in, I just want to say, it is a really important thing to have a mentor. And, that's one of those things that a lot of the things you're talking about, definitely I can just think about, in my own kind of when I was going through different things in school and, my career path and things like that. And having a mentor, though, to be able to kind of anchor yourself and to talk about different things and to work through different things can definitely help in that situation. And it's great that you're able to find one. And, my mentors that I have are amazing, you know, and I wouldn't be where I am today without them. So absolutely, it's a great point.
Yeah, and then kind of, I guess, to add to all of that, you know, mentors can come from any place, really. You know, sometimes you get the opportunity in certain companies to be assigned mentors just from the get-go. Other times they are just people that kind of fall into that place simply by you taking the first step and reaching out and asking for advice and being comfortable with hearing things that might not necessarily be things that you might agree with or you might not know. And kind of also to you know, answer the question a little bit more as well. I think, you know, when you work in the professional world, whether that's in a small business or a large business, and you interact with people, there's going to be inherent biases. And I think everybody, all of the panelists here, as well as all the attendees, have their own set of unique biases that they depict to other people. And of course, one of the most common bias that you'll see when you first start in the professional world is the bias of, oh, this person just started, they have no idea what they're talking about. And that is a very, 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 very common thing. And it's intimidating to a lot of people to, you know, try to speak out or offer a new, fresh perspective. But really what you don't realize is that so often the people that are running these meetings, the people that you're interacting with, have been in their position for quite a while or have done the same thing, the same process over and over and over and over again. So that when you come in, you have a fresh perspective. You have the education that you get from IST and from entrepreneurship. You have, you know, this enthusiastic, bright-eyed approach to a lot of things that they might not necessarily have seen in a while. You know, one of the things when I first started working for the Big Four, they said, you know, when the interns come in, it's like kind of like everything seems a little bit more livelier. You know, there's just a little bit more enthusiasm in the organization. And granted, you might not necessarily know exactly what you need to solve the problem, but you have to take the risk and try to offer a solution regardless, because whether or not you fail, you know, you're putting yourself out there. They see that you're trying to engage them, and they see, you know, that they're really trying to offer a unique and new perspective. And if failure is just so common in entrepreneurship. One of the quotes I like a lot is, you know, you have to see failure as the beginning and the middle, but you can never entertain it as the end. And that's really important because you're going to fail so often. So give that opinion and give that perspective that might not necessarily be the solution, but ultimately when it does become the solution, you're going to realize that you've left quite an imprint on the people that you're dealing with, and maybe it's changed a few biases over time.
Great. If no one else wants to add to that question, Caitlin, do you want to?
Sure. So what advice do you all have that could help us build skills that we need to build in this career path? Megan, as a faculty member who teaches entrepreneurship, do you have any special insights into this?
Absolutely, I do. And I'm glad, you know, that this is a question here because, like I was talking about before, you know, when I was a student in IST, there weren't nearly as many resources as there were that we have today, you know, in this entrepreneurial space, which is super cool. And one of the things that I would say is try to leverage as many of those resources as you possibly can from Penn State. Penn State is a really like entrepreneurial, like it's a space where they love entrepreneurs and all the different things that you can come up with. And they really want to foster your growth in this space in as many different ways as they can. For somebody who is just looking to get their feet wet, you're not really sure what entrepreneurship is or if it's for you, I would even say start here in Startup Week. And if you're here in this panel and you're just trying to learn what this all is, then that's great. There are a whole bunch of other programs and things and different competitions and all different kinds of stuff during Startup Week that you can sit in on, you can learn a lot about, and then you could even use that as a networking opportunity for you when you're going out there and you're meeting different people and you're getting a feel for who they are. And, you know, make sure you reach out. That's a big thing. You know, networking is a really big, important part of being a successful entrepreneur. Another thing that I can say is tap into the Launchbox as much as you can. The Happy Valley Launchbox is a resource that's downtown that has so many different things for so many different stages of creating your project. You know, everything from I have an idea and I think I want to see if I can make this happen to I've been building this for a little while and I want to foster this a little bit to like I have a full-fledged idea and I'm looking for funding. I mean, the Launchbox has so many different things there. And even if you don't know where to start, the people who work at the Launchbox have so many great resources. They're kind of like a human Rolodex of just, you know, where do you go next? What do you do, right? And it's super, super helpful just as a program in general, you know, to be able to be there. And even if you just sit there and, you know, just talk with the people who are coming and going and see the different things that are going on, that's a wonderful space to definitely work in. One more thing that I would say is a resource that you could definitely use that's a little bit more it's a little bit more formal, but still it's certainly something that helps, is the Entrepreneurship Minor, which is something that's offered not just at the College of IST, but there's a bunch of other colleges that also offer different programming for the Entrepreneurship Minor. And there are different classes and things that you can actually take that teach you about all different steps through the entrepreneurial process. And you build different things in your classes and you get to meet a lot of amazing people. And it's just a really great opportunity to get involved with this stuff and to just get started. But the most important thing is you just want to get started as soon as you can, because there's a lot of opportunities out there for you to try out.
I can add that. Oh, Joel, you go first.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll say one really important thing to remember when you're starting off with your entrepreneurship journey is just to find a way to keep in mind yourself that you're capable of doing what you're trying to set out to do. Because there's a lot of challenges that might come your way as you're trying to develop this idea and you're meeting new people. You know, as you meet new people going down this path, you know, a lot of people are in different stages of the entrepreneurship journey than you are. So there could be a lot of things that could discourage you from continuing on the path, but you always gotta remember that there is no reason why you can't reach the same levels that other people have when you're in this space, especially when you're at Penn State right now with all the resources and the love from the community to help you get your idea where you want it to go. So I also really emphasize going to Launchbox as well. Me going to that safe space. I think in 2019 when I was a senior, it really opened up my eyes to what was possible with my idea. You know, when I first wanted to start learning more about like app development and community building, like I wasn't even thinking as an entrepreneur. I didn't really realize that I needed to focus on it as a business. But the people on Launchbox were so welcoming and patient with me as I learned more about what handling a business means and, you know, tailoring to your customer is. So like it doesn't have to be really anything formal. Just to put your first foot in the door. It's something that if you know if it's something that you're passionate about, then that's really all you need to get started.
I totally agree. Like everything you just said was so good. But I love how you said that the Launchbox was a safe space for you to learn. I think that for entrepreneurs, it is so hard and you do doubt yourself all the time. And creating a safe space for you to learn is one of the most important things you can do. And that will look different for everyone. For me, I look to people who were just like a couple of steps further down the road than me. You know, I would follow people, I would admire what they're doing, kind of look into them, follow their journey, and then, you know, learn as much as I could and, you know, do that outreach, do that networking, ask for advice. And I was able to build my own safe space of just a couple of people who could help answer my questions, to help point me in the right direction. A lot of entrepreneurship is figuring out what the next step is. What is the next step? I did this, now what? I did this, now what? Just constantly, over and over again, forever and ever. Amen. So, you know, having those people that you can ask stupid questions to, or you can go, oh crap, I made this mistake. What do I do? You know, that's everything. And then when you are doubting yourself, because you will, you know, having those people like you can do this. This is you, this is your idea. This is, you know, we all need that from time to time. So, creating that safe space for whatever it looks like for you is probably the biggest advice I would give anyone.
And just to echo my fellow panelists here, you pick up like every unique opportunity to learn something new that you think might have absolutely no pertinence to what you're doing. We were just getting the 3D printers at Penn State when I started. I learned how to design things and 3D print things, and then all of a sudden, 4 or 5 years later down the road, brought that to one of my meetings for a product that we kind of were considering of implementing in the risk space, and they were like, "You made that? You 3D printed that?" I'm like, "I know, it's kind of crazy. I learned that in college, how to make an object from a digital space into the physical space," and that was really incredible. And then on top of that, I feel like I'd probably be a little bit remiss if I didn't plug the product a little bit, but all Penn State students have access to LinkedIn Learning, a Microsoft product, and you have an incredible vast amount of resources to take classes about certifications, take classes about soft skills, hard skills, anything that you kind of could imagine that you would need in the professional world. There's probably a LinkedIn Learning class that is available to you at no extra charge. So be sure to utilize that. Definitely an opportunity that we just found out about ourselves. So make sure that you guys utilize that feature.
Awesome. So our next question is, do you have any stories to share that can highlight the value of having diversity on your teams or when developing your business? And we'd love to hear from you first, Joel.
Oh, yeah, for sure. When I was starting Vibrant in 2019, it was really apparent for me to identify what were the things that I was strong at and what were things I was weak at. And going from the process of me wanting to, I'm going gung-ho building this app for this community, but also, trying to figure out how I can turn into a business and form a team. It was really important for me, for my business to reflect what I'm trying to do for the community, or it's important for my team to reflect the customers I'm trying to help in the community. So I was able to get connected with a lot of peers that I met through Blueprint, which is a peer mentoring organization based in the College and Culture Center that helps first-year underrepresented students get acclimated in the university. And I was able to find students of different backgrounds to join my team that had different skill sets and perspectives that allowed us to not only bounce ideas off each other or to point ourselves into a different direction when we felt like we're stuck, but we're also able to reach a lot of different pockets of Penn State that each of us individually really didn't know much about. So going through school year and getting connected with different organizations on campus, such as PISFA, which is focused on Filipino students, or SHEP, which is on engineering students, Hispanic engineering students, or Black Caucus. It kind of just helped increase our net of who we can outreach to in the community. And it felt very empowering for me to be able to have this collective shared experience of trying to just do something that focused on trying to do something that focused on underrepresented students, that was for underrepresented students, and it was just something that I felt very passionate about, very strongly about, and I was really grateful that I was able to get some support from so many people in the community. So diversity can really take you a long way when you're trying to build up your business, and it's why it's something that I want to continue to push forward in my future goals and endeavors.
Yeah, I could add a little bit to that as well. I think, obviously great ideas can come from anybody, from any background, but also perspectives that you might not have experienced before. Obviously, an issue pretty near and dear to my heart right now is, with the war in Ukraine. And we just did a presentation on this at IST Connect X, but basically, the thought process is, well, how does cybersecurity impact something like that? Well, we have a lot of people in Microsoft that are extremely talented that portray all kinds of perspectives, especially people from Europe, people from Russia, people from Ukraine, people from all sides of the issue, and they're able to approach this issue with these various perspectives, these diverse ideas and diverse cultural norms to approach cybersecurity with that mindset, and ultimately develop plans to assist in the situation. One of the things they looked into is, well, obviously there's ways to harden and strengthen your network and IT infrastructure to be able to withstand attacks from cybersecurity, but then you don't think about things that might come into fruition, like state propaganda and news that might alter people's opinions because it's a they are only seeing one side of it, as opposed to there's obviously another side to it as well. So you have people that are able to understand the perspectives of these people that are getting information from all kinds of sources, and are able to use their own opinion and use their own experience to create a solution to combat this kind of misinformation and this kind of issue with the state propaganda. And this wouldn't happen if it was just a bunch of the same people working in America, but this was a global team that worked on the issue collectively to be able to address this problem, and that was very important. And it's good to see that kind of collaboration.
So for me, being a nonprofit, it's a little bit different, but not that much. In order to gain support and donations and funding, you have to first show impact, right? And in order to impact people, we had to make a connection with them. And people from all over the country, all over the world even. And yes, they're in 911, but there's tons of diversity in thought and perspective and background. There are just tons of ideas. And having that diverse thought pattern on my board and volunteers, everybody connects with somebody different. Everybody connects with, not everyone connects with the same person, right? So if you have all these people working with you, sharing their ideas, trying to make that connection, then you're reaching more people. And when you're reaching more people, we can make more impact, and we can survive and thrive. And one of the things that Joelle said too is, when you have different representatives representing different thoughts and cultures and gender and whatever, they have networks of people, so they can help spread your network and whatever you're trying to sell or do as well. So that's been my experience thus far. As many different voices as I can surround myself with, is the more that I learn and the better leader that I can be.
And to add another thing, all of these are great stories. I can kind of take like an education perspective to this as well. So as you all know, I'm one of the people who teaches entrepreneurship classes at the College of IST. And most every year, but COVID kind of threw a wrench in some of the years. Usually what we'll run is what we call the Mhealth Challenge. And the Mhealth Challenge is a situation where we have students in my entrepreneurship class who are teaming up with other students from biobehavioral health and nursing, and they all work together to come up with some really innovative ideas on things that are happening out there in the world where people are experiencing problems. And the thing that is just so cool to see, from a professor's perspective, is to see how different backgrounds and different expertise and everything working together can come up with such amazing products in such little time. Because for the entire semester, we don't get to work on it for the whole time, but we only have like a few weeks a few months, I guess, when we're working on this. And it's amazing to see how different perspectives can come together and come up with something so incredible, where you could see as they're working through these things, like, oh, I didn't think of that, because there are different perspectives that are coming to the table that are making that happen. So it's just an amazing thing to watch come together from the other side of the podium.
Awesome. Thank you all for your answers. We are a little bit over the halfway mark. I just wanted to remind our participants, if you have any questions, feel free to throw it in the Q&A chat. In the meantime, another question we had was, what challenges did you have to overcome at the beginning of your journey? And Nikita, we'll start with you.
Great question. What challenges at the beginning of my journey? Well, I think first and foremost, going into college, right? Everyone's kind of telling you, oh, you have to figure out exactly what you want to do and how you're going to do it and how you're going to get there within 4 years. And you think that, okay, well, I want to work, in the tech world, but I don't know how I want to get there. So I'll be an aerospace engineer. So that's actually where I started off in college. Why? I didn't know anything about rocket science. And then you realize, oh, wait, that is actually rocket science, but that's not necessarily what I want to do. And I had the time to figure out maybe I wanted to pivot something a little bit with more computers and a little bit more on that side of technology. And then, I finally figured out my major. I finally figured out what I wanted to kind of work in, what industry kind of I wanted to work with. And then they all of a sudden tell you that you have to get a job, or at least an IST first, an internship, and then a job. And you're like, I don't even know what I want to do then. So I kind of took a leap of faith and went into consulting, IT audit and assurance. I had no idea what the hell that meant at all when I took the job. But I'm like, company sounds good. They're paying me. That's a plus. And yeah, I'll try this opportunity. And I took that internship. That offered me a full-time job, and then I started my working career. Pretty sure even by the time I got my full-time offer, I still had no idea what I was doing in terms of like what my job actually entailed. And I think I just figured it out maybe like, I don't know, maybe like a year ago, and that's already 4 years into my career. And it's one of those things that like you have this idea of what you want to do and how you want to get there, but you don't really know what path is going to lead you to that direction. I just find that when I stopped being very specific with what I wanted to do, when I stopped saying in 5 years I need to have this position at this company doing this, and took opportunities I might not have taken otherwise because I kind of opened up my horizons just a little bit. I was able to get to the place that I wanted to get to a lot quicker in my career than I would have otherwise. I have always wanted to work at a company like Microsoft. If you told me that I was going to work there after 3.5 years of my career, I would have been kind of surprised. But I did the things in my career necessary. I took all the opportunities presented to me. I picked up skills that I didn't even think I would need, and ended up with this awesome position. One of the things that I think, Megan, you kind of spoke to it, technology and law, right, is a very interesting concept. I remember taking a few courses in college, but I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever get into this. I don't really know if I have an interest in patents or copyrights or trademarks or anything like that. And now I'm working on a portfolio of all the recently acquired gaming studios doing IP protection for these things that I've always grown up loving, like these huge video game companies. And I love doing that kind of thing. And I had no idea I would have if I didn't take that couple courses, if I didn't take all those different opportunities that got me to this spot. And I really found that the more you take on and the more you kind of expose yourself to, you'll get to the places you want to a lot quicker than if you just kind of keep the blinders on and real siloed in your positions.
So I started my entrepreneurship journey back in 2019. So it hasn't been that long. So I had a pretty long career going when I decided to do that. And, I had a family, 2 kids, and a mortgage and all that adult stuff that everyone pretends is so great back in the day. But my biggest challenge to overcome was self-doubt and fear, 100%, because, I had confidence in what I was doing, and I just felt like, oh my God, I'm going to risk, our family's financial health, and, all of the bad things were coming into my brain, like all of the doom and gloom. So that was probably my biggest hurdle. I was afraid of making the wrong decision. And I was afraid that I didn't have the skills that were necessary to do this, which were both crap and just stuff I was telling myself. But that was definitely for me, my biggest challenge.
Awesome. So are there any specific must-do experiences as a Penn State student that you all have to recommend? Joelle, as the most recent graduate and someone who went through the Founders Program, would you maybe want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So the programs I was involved with at Launchbox that I thought were great. So the first one I did was the Idea Test Lab. So this was very, very early on in my path of being an entrepreneur. But basically, like you were in a group of like, I think it was, for me, it was like 20 other potential entrepreneurs, and they basically just teach you the basic concepts of like a business plan, your potential customers and what they might look like, doing personas, and basically teaching you what's the best way for you to get the information that you actually want for your customer. So that whole experience was really eye-opening for me. I think when I did it was like an hour a week for 4 weeks. So I would definitely recommend that program for sure. And the Summer Founders Program, once you get a little bit farther into your business idea, you apply for that and you're able to get in. That was an amazing opportunity for me because, they provided me with an alumni network that was very diverse in terms of skill set and expertise that I was really able to leverage during my time during the program and afterwards too. They give my company a stipend. They get basically just allowed me to do a lot of things that I had, I was broke before, so I couldn't do anything. But well, not a lot of things, but it also gave me like a little small community with all the entrepreneurs that were in the program as well, and we were able to support each other throughout that summer. So I would definitely recommend those things. Some other experiences I had when I was at Penn, some other experience I had when I was at Penn State. I went to the Tapia conference of the College of IST. Ms. Griffiths helped organize that trip, I remember, and that was a good opportunity in like meeting a lot of representatives from different companies in the IT field, and also had a big focus on diversity as well. And I think also Penn State's career fair is also a must go as well. It's one of the biggest career fairs in this country, and even if you're not exactly sure what company you want to go for, it's always good to have that practice and have that experience. So if you have the opportunity, you always try to go. I think another one real quick is studying abroad. You should definitely study abroad if you can. Absolutely, because when I was sophomore, I studied abroad in China, and that was probably like one of the best months of my life. Honestly, it was. I learned so much on the trip and had a lot of great food. Went to a lot of different locations. Learned a lot about engineering. So, and lastly, there are a lot of different student organization events that are planned throughout the year. So like if you ever hear about PISFA's Barrio event, they have a different theme every single year. I think it happens around like March, April, like around this time. I might have already passed, but they have like a different theme every year, and they have like dance performances. There's the Touch of Africa, which is a big, I think it's like the second biggest event after Thon. That happens at Penn State, where you can get to learn a lot about different cultures from Africa. And also the Mlk Commemoration Committee, which I was a part of. I was a co-director in 2019, and we have the Day of Service event and other events throughout the week, just to learn a lot more about social justice and important figures that help us get to the point we are at in civil rights. So yeah, those are my suggestions.
To jump in on this one, I would definitely say get involved with different things that you really love to do. There are so many different clubs and organizations and things on campus that even if there's some sort of a hobby or something you've been hoping to get into, but you've never had the opportunity to do it, just do it. I mean, this is a great time to be able to get involved and to do it. And as an example, when I was in undergrad, this sounds like such a random thing, but I joined the swing dancing club of all things. It was amazing. I have friends for life now who I continue to talk to literally every single day. Some of them were in my wedding even. I mean, it was just a fantastic opportunity. And if I didn't just kind of put myself out there and just say, hey, I don't know what this is about, but I just want to try, that would have been a lost opportunity. And, I wouldn't have been able to meet people like that. And you just never know who you're going to meet at these events, whether it be, just a one-time thing or you kind of join it for the long haul. It's certainly something that, is something fun to take up. And I totally agree about the studying abroad thing. I regretted it forever when I was in undergrad. I didn't get to do it. I was going to do it. I didn't get to do it. When I went to law school, I did study abroad in France. It was amazing as well. So it's a great opportunity to get to learn a new culture and to just be in a place that's just centuries old. It's amazing. So it's definitely something to take advantage of while you're in school. So awesome stuff to do.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all these points. I think all those opportunities are phenomenal, and joining various organizations and doing all kinds of interesting clubs and programs. You'll get to network with people both in college that you might work with outside of college on things both in an entrepreneurial space and not. For instance, I started doing a lot of work with the various music programs at Penn State when I was an undergrad. I worked with Moving On, which was the annual senior festival, kind of to see what that looks like from that side of things. Built a lot of industry connections. So now, while I work for, have my day job working for Microsoft, I use the skills that I built up there with both, the music industry to start playing, shows of my own. So, I just recently played a show in the Bahamas. They flew me out there as one of those experiences, and that's all because I built up these networking opportunities in college for, this various, music inclined organization. And now I have these incredible opportunities to produce and DJ in all kinds of places, and that's in addition to my day job. So there are things that you think are hobbies at Penn State that you really realize very quickly that those can turn into careers.
Awesome, lots of great conversations. So we just wanted to pivot now, due to time, to any final thoughts or advice that you would like to leave some of our students and other listeners here today.
So I guess I could jump in first. Just a reiteration of some of the points that I made from earlier. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Take advantage of all the great things that Penn State has to offer, whether it's the entrepreneurial tools or the different programs and things that we have, or just even go after some of the great hobbies and things that you're really interested in fostering and just see where it takes you. And you'll be surprised, after you're kind of working through these things for a certain amount of time, you'll get to meet a lot of great people. You'll definitely you're going to have a great experience overall. And you just got to make sure that you just take the first step, because that's where the magic happens.
I'm gonna say y'all should reach out to us, like people in the panels. You have our information, our emails and LinkedIn's, and stuff that we do. I know for me, when I was in y'all's shoes and I came to these panels, like I'll feel very kind of like nervous about reaching out to people on the panel and not really prioritize it, and it kind of just all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's 2 months later. It's like, dang, I never did it. But honestly, like, me, I speak for myself, but I think everyone else the panel would agree that, like, we're more than open to talk about our experiences that we had so far with entrepreneurship. And, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, and, there's a lot of emotional. It's really important to be authentic when you're talking about things that you're passionate about. So, like, if you have any inclination, definitely reach out to any of us. I'm sure that, we'll try to build that relationship.
Yeah, very much agreed with Joel on that one, specifically reaching out to alumni. I was one of the great opportunities you have as a Penn State student is not only to realize the vast amount of educational resources that the college provides, but you have also access to the largest alumni network in the world. So make sure that you utilize the alumni that have such great breadth of experiences. Go to IST alumni events, not to plug that a little bit, but yes, those are incredible opportunities to connect with alumni who will chat with you about anything and everything. And that's how you can start to foster those mentorships. Get started as an undergrad. And then once you graduate, be sure to join the alumni network and then ultimately give back to the university and the students as well.
You know, I live in Florida and still, like, 17 years out, people from Penn State, will if you say you went to Penn State, you're going to Penn State, they will just adopt you, embrace you. Anything, how can I help you? Do you need anything? Can I cook you dinner? Just like, that's how we are. That's kind of the connection that we built, and it doesn't go away. It doesn't matter where you are in the country. So I would definitely get involved with your local alumni chapters once you graduate as well, because then there'll be people who are near you and can meet you for lunch. But I'll definitely say, if I could go back and tell my younger self something, connections with people is going to be your most important resource. So do the outreach, even if it's uncomfortable. Treat people well, because people are going to remember how you made them feel in your interactions with them. People are going to want to help you based on how you've been treated, how you interact with people. A lot of doing this internship, and I know it's required, but learning how to work with people who are older than you and kind of bridge that generation gap is so important. People that I interned with my sophomore year are still reaching out to me and helping me, and spreading my nonprofit. And it's just and remember, one person's encouragement of you can mean the world. Somebody who has told me that they believe in me has set my career off in a totally different way. So just keep that in mind, the power of reaching out to people and not giving up, and then also giving back, reaching back for other people and encouraging other people, especially when we talk about underrepresented communities, inviting people to the table with you is what's going to keep us moving in the right direction. So I would leave you with that.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for participating. Thank you to our panelists who have paved the way for us. We really appreciate all this mentorship and guidance and wonderful advice. To everyone attending, please feel free to look on the IST identity talks on the IST website. You can view past recordings. This one will probably be up in a short period of time if you'd like to revisit any of these discussions. But thank you all and have a great evening.